What's going on YouTube? It's Chris here with Everyday Sports Fan, and today we're going to be talking about the power shift that is currently happening in the Pac-12. Alright, so if you just woke up this morning, opened up your paper because you didn't catch the late night games, you might be going, there must be some misprints in this column right here because it has a bunch of teams I've rarely heard of on top of the Pac-12. Where's Oregon? Where's Stanford? Where's USC and UCLA? Well, look, the answer to that question, good sirs, they're at the bottom. If you're looking at the conference standings and you see the Washington schools on top of the North, and you see kind of those two schools they just added so they could have a conference championship game near the top of the South, you're going, what kind of trick is this? It's not April, it's not Halloween yet, but it's looking pretty scary, especially, if you're living in Oregon. We've got some teams playing some really good football and some teams that are just not playing the brand of football you're used to seeing. Stanford, who just after getting spanked by the Huskies in Seattle, expecting a huge comeback game, Christian McCaffrey to prove that, last game was a fluke, and he just, it happened. He got schemed out, and they game planned against him, but he's come back with a vengeance because he wants that Heisman. And then Washington State came in the Palo Alto and just absolutely re-spanked them on the other cheek. Stanford has just played bad. And then you look at Oregon, and they haven't played any better. We'll start with the South. The South is a mess. You have USC, who is just Jekyll and Hyde. They can't decide if they're good or if they're bad. They can beat any team in the Pac-12. In fact, they have the recruits. I'd like to think they have the coaching. But here they are sitting at a magical 300 or 500 at 3-3. Overall and 2-2 in the conference. They've already played 4 conference games and they're sitting at 2-2. Not good if you're USC. They've been wreaking havoc. That's the good thing about the South is USC still controls the South's destiny in a way. So sitting on the top of the South, you have Arizona State at 2-1 in the conference, 5-1 overall. Utah at 2-1 and 5-1 overall, and Colorado at 2-1 and 4-2. So the difference is USC has had a huge say in how that top 3 has lined up already. USC beat Arizona State 41-20 on October 1st, and that is their only loss in conference and overall. Their only loss is to USC, who's sitting at a measly 3-3. And then they also beat Colorado this last weekend, 21-17, which gave Colorado its only loss in conference and its second loss on the season, which makes the only team in the tied for the top right now that beat them was Utah, who barely beat them 31-27 and already lost a different conference game. So they're sitting at 2-1 and 5-1 overall. So USC has pretty much brought Arizona State and Colorado down to their level, and Utah just choked against somebody else, and now they're all sitting tied, and USC is only sitting a half game back at 2-2. So USC still has a very good potential to somehow, if they can get out of their own way, win the South. Now you go to the North. In the North, it's over. I'm sorry. Like I said, the South has 4 teams viably competing for the conference still, and in the North it's just over. You look at Stanford, their 2 losses are to the 2 teams above them. So if UW and Stanford somehow lose 2 conference games, UW and Wazoo lose 2 conference games, which I don't see happening, they have the tiebreaker with Stanford. And that's the only team really competing. You got Oregon State at 1-1, Cal at 1-2, and we're not even going to get into the Ducks that my Idaho Vandals have a better record than, which is just I never thought that would ever happen in my life, ever, maybe. And it's currently happening in front of our eyes. But they're sitting at 0-3, and their championship, they're kaputs. You need UW and Wazoo to lose 3, and one of those games they're going to be playing each other, so one of them's getting the win, and I just don't. Oregon's done. They're not winning the North. Cal and Oregon State, I just don't. I guess technically, mathematically, they're not out of it, but they're not going to win it either. It just takes too much magic. And Stanford is just too big of a hill to climb. They are 2 games back, and they don't have the games remaining against the top two teams. So the North has come down to UW and Wazoo, the Washington schools of the Evergreen State, are going to duke it out for the Pac-12 North. And you look at Wazoo. We'll start with Wazoo because UW deserves a little more face time. Wazoo is sitting at a 3-2 record, and you're asking yourself how. Why are they atop with a 3-2 record? Like, who they lose to if they're playing so well? Well, it was Eastern Washington of Cheney, Washington, who plays in the Big Sky, which is a FCS level school. But they lost to them on their home opener, season opener at home, and then they responded by going to Boise and just playing atrocious against a team that's turning out to look better than a lot of people thought they were going to be in Boise State. But I'm still not convinced that that's a good loss to have taken. That 2 losses are huge and pretty much ruined any shot they have at the, playoffs. Their dreams for playoffs are done. They're fighting for a Rose Bowl appearance by winning the conference. And then, they got a couple big games left. They got to play tied for first in the South, Arizona State on October 22nd. And they got a big one on November 19th at home against Colorado. And then the huge one is November 25th against the Huskies. Now we're covering the Huskies now, since that's a good segue transition. The Huskies are sitting pretty. They're already bowl eligible. They are going to a bowl. Chris Peterson is pretty much sitting there laughing, going, I'm so good at football. I'm 6-0, 3-0 in conference. I've beaten the 2 teams that usually rule our conference and absolutely destroyed them. And now I'm sitting here as a 5th-ranked team in the country, probably going to be top 4 after this week, hopefully. I mean, they deserve to probably be top 3. Problem is, they're that team that no one wants to believe in because they're the New Oregon that I'm not staying up till 1 in the morning to watch you play football. And if you're on and you keep spanking people, it's not entertaining for me to watch. So I'm going to turn it off like they probably did Friday night against Stanford. And if they did tune in last week against Oregon. So they're just not getting the looks that they want. And Browning, their quarterback, is getting some Heisman whispers. And, I mean, this team's legit. Their defense is fantastic. They're giving up, quick math, let's see, they've given up 85 points in 6 games. So, I mean, you do the math. They're giving up just like slightly over 10, in between 10 and 15-ish points a game, which is definitely beatable when your offense is putting up 297 points. They are 3 points away from 300 points in the first 6 games of the year. Absolutely ridiculous. Oregon used to be able to put 85 up in a game on you, and they played Oregon, and they've still only given up 85 points the entire season. UW is legit, and it's a safe pick. I think they're going to win the Pac-12 North and the Pac-12 in general, and they're going to go to a bowl game. It's probably going to be the Fiesta Bowl or something, and Chris Peterson just rules at that. He's never lost in a Fiesta Bowl ever. He'll have them all prepared and ready to go, and then you know what's going to happen? They're going to win. Then they're going to go to the big-time game against Alabama, Clemson, somebody, but he's not going to have those 3 weeks to prepare. He's going to get his team up, pull some magical trick plays, and they will lose in the national championship game. Now, I said that was a safe pick. That's what your brain's telling you. Now, my heart says Washington State is going to win the Pac-12 South, or North. It's because the Apple Cup in Pullman, they won't have any playoff aspirations. And so what does Wazoo thrive on when they don't have those? Destroying all of UW's aspirations at anything. This is the first time the Apple Cup's going to have meaning since the late 90s, early 2000s, when both teams are fighting for the Rose Bowl appearances. And, I mean, it's going to be fired up. I wish I could be in Pullman for this. Maybe we will. And I think Wazoo wins just because it's in Pullman this year, and they're kind of viewing it as they'll be viewing it as their playoff because they're not going to a big bowl unless they win the conference. So they're going to need to beat UW to go to the Rose Bowl. Meanwhile, I think UW's going to go into that game 11-0 and get upset. Possibly College Game Day will be there. You know, that'd be cool. And they're going to get upset, and they're going to finish 11-1 and still go to a big bowl because they deserve it. They are a fantastic team this year. They are for real. They have some big games left at Utah and at home against USC, but that's pretty much it. Other than the Apple Cup, I think they roll in 11-0, but they get tripped up. And that's just what my heart's saying. My mind says I don't think that's possible, but my pick is Wazoo, and I think somehow USC pulls it out in the South. They've beaten two of the teams, and Utah's got a tough one against Colorado still. But that's my prediction on the Pac-12 and kind of what's been going on with the Pac-12. Let me know what you think. And leave a comment below. I'm going to do a couple more videos like this for you guys. So give me a like so I know what to talk about. And comment on what you want to hear. And who do you think is going to win the Pac-12? And who do you think the new perennial powers may be? Is this year just a fluke? Is it still USC, UCLA, Stanford, and Oregon? Or have we seen the shift to Utah and Colorado, Arizona State, UW, Wazoo? Let me know below. Thanks for watching.